Good morning, friends and extended family. How are you today? Um, Good morning from Canada. I'm covered in mosquito bites. It's crazy up here. But today I wanted to talk about why exactly I do this. And as some people have some people have mentioned to me that I have unresolved anger. And that's true. I have some resentments that I don't know where they belong, I guess is the problem. Um, they, it's hard to explain. But anyways, what triggered my message today? I had a 22-year-old comment on my very first video asking, if there was something that we could do legally to fight this. And that's a really good question, and it's what I'm trying to establish for myself. Got kind of a glare going on here. Let me slide this around a little bit. There, I think that's a little better. So, I'm not a lawyer. I understand the basic concepts and premises of the law to a degree. I understand that a lot of it is based on language. Um, and there's a lot of policies, protocols, a lot of crossing of T's and dotting of I's. Um, and then I guess it's getting to the basic root of how we define a human being versus a person and these sorts of things. And it gets a little bit dicey. There's a little bit of confusion. And I believe there's a little bit of trickery in modern law in there to keep the lay people from fully comprehending it. But anyways, it's occurred to me sometimes that suck it up and move on, you know. And I have that's been my life. Suck it up and move on. This is your problem, and nobody sees it as a problem besides you. But that's not true. It's just that our problem is kept quiet, silent, and the way it's been put together with our adoptive parents and birth parents, that if we say anything about it, then we're either hurting one or the other. So, and then the ungrateful bastard thing kind of rears its ugly head. But when I hear that a 22-year-old is facing the same problems as myself, who's 43 now, um, it it bothers me. It bothers me that these people, where I would place my unresolved anger and resentments that I can't resolve because I don't know exactly who they are. I don't know exactly who has made these decisions. And the other problem is that some people have made these decisions knowing the harm they're causing. I know this. But the majority that are involved, social workers, doctors, blah, 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 I don't think they know. I don't think they are aware of the harm they're causing. I don't think they want to be aware in some cases because, this is a big status quo they would have to go against, and their job would be on the line most likely. So I can accept my situation. I could accept my situation if it was completely just me. I could accept that it was, everyone else had happy adoptive lives. I could accept all those things. But what I can't accept is that there's a huge majority of us that are being harmed on purpose for the sake of profit, and behavior modification. And that's what gets my fires going. That's what fuels my anger. That's what's unresolved. And it's going to take a lot more education on my part. I mean, I need to educate myself. And it's going to take a lot more awareness by the general populace of what's happening for anything to change. So that's kind of where I'm at, what I'm working on. I'm trying to understand it from a much larger perspective, from the macrocosm of how this all comes to be, because the powers that be have some good excuses. Well, what are you going to do with all these unwanted children? Because we've created a situation where mothers believe that, well, it's better than abortion, so let's contribute to this adoption thing. And that's not necessarily true. So in a way, the right and the left both work against the adoptee. Right now, you have the LGBTQ community that wants to get in on adopting. I mean, if regular people can adopt, then we should be able to adopt too. Yeah, well, regular people shouldn't be able to adopt. So you shouldn't be able to adopt too. Um, so now, not only are we going to have to stop regular people from feeling they're entitled to adopt and they're doing doing us a favor somehow, to now blockading the LGBTQ community from getting adoptees without looking like we care which one they get, because that's the ironic catch-22. When you get into higher end spiritual research and understandings, and what you come to realize is that even a married couple, Southern Baptists, living for Christ, etc., if they're not practicing white tantra and they're spilling seed, etc., well, they're just as bad as the gay couple. I know this isn't common knowledge and it's not well understood, but it's the lust that we're trying to do away of, and that's body, mind, soul is the goal. And as they say, the path is narrow and few will find it. And the reasoning being is because those that don't find it, which is 99.99999% of people, are going to convince you that they have found the way and that their way is right, and they're all doing it wrong, so they're going to tell you that they're doing it right, etc. I digress. I got a little sidetracked there. So I guess what we're talking about here is that we can run around looking for our birth certificates, our rights here, there, everywhere. But I mean, I think ultimately what it comes down to is that we want to get to a point where we're educated enough, where we've gotten what we were supposed to get out of being adopted, which is on the papers, a financial, moral, and physical education. We should be educated in how to best sustain our bodies, our minds, and our spirits here on earth. I think that was the goal. And I don't think any of us were provided those sort of situations. On top of everything else, I think in the 70s there must have been a big push towards secularism and atheism, because that's where a lot of us got dropped. If there's people who grew up in the very religious families or this, that, and the other thing, well, maybe there's a war there. Maybe there was Christians fighting to try and get the adoptees, when the versus the atheists. Maybe some of those were horrible. Who knows? But the point being, at the end of the day, is that, um, you know, did we want to be placed by God, or possibly our own choice before this life, or did we want to be placed by some social worker? And I've met some social workers, and don't get me wrong, there's some good ones, but for the most part, I wouldn't trust them with my laundry, let alone placing a child. Sorry if that hurts someone's feelings. I just don't think you have the education. And on top of that, I don't believe that you, as a social worker, unless you've really had your own soul searching adventure, I just don't think you're qualified to be placing a child with a family and matching it up. I just don't think that you would have the but that being said, I'd apply that to doctors, most psychologists, psychiatrists, like the works. I don't think there's very many people at all that are qualified to take a baby and find a suitable home for the baby. And maybe that's being too dramatic, but I don't think it's a job. I think it would be a natural process, and as soon as you put your own processes and governmental interferences in it, I believe we run into some big problems. So my heart goes out to the 22-year-old that was commenting on my first video, that if he's suffering the same things that I've suffered, and a lot of us have suffered. Um, and my heart goes out to the birth mothers who are being coerced right now into giving up their children. My heart goes out to people that are having their homes invaded to get their children. Um, yeah, I, I, that's where the war is, right? It used to be about the war for the souls. Now it's a war. I mean, the war for the souls, I think, is over in the West. Anyways, I think there's a reason we're called white devils out this way and whatnot. And if we don't get our heads out of our asses and get ourselves back oriented with some sort of spiritual program, I think our Western way of life is lost. I think Christianity has been far too diluted and corrupted. And yeah, I guess all I can do now is continue on with the community, keep making videos, keep trying to spread the word about ourselves, to other adoptees, that it's okay to talk about our extreme feelings about some of these things. Um, so yeah, yeah. Uh, One little thing I added to the comment, to the young fella, about legal. Um, if there's anything that can be done legally. In Canada, just recently, they did have a $750 million lawsuit settled with a class action suit to do with the residential schooling here in Canada, where they took Native children um, from their families. And, apparently the conditions were horrible. And luckily, our Prime Minister, although I don't care for him much, did point out something very important in a speech, which now has become public record. So, if somebody wants to call a witness to court, well, the Prime Minister of your country, I think, would be a pretty good witness to have. To point to, and he basically said that the worst part about the schooling and the adoption of these children was the fact that they lost their culture, community, and languages. Thank you, Prime Minister. That applies to every single adoptee. Thank you. Well, 90%. I suppose if you were specific Romanian Catholic, blah 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 blah, and you were adopted into the same exact same culture, faith, religion, language, community, then I guess there wouldn't be that big of that. You wouldn't have lost so much. But I mean, I wasn't raised by you Romanian, Ukrainian, Slavic, any of that. I wasn't raised with that language. I wasn't taught that language. I wasn't exposed to that culture. So I lost everything that went with my family, um, and was given something that didn't suit me. Um, did my roots suit me? Well, I don't know. I wasn't given that opportunity to find out, but I would assume my culture, language, heritage, all those things would suit me better than someone else's. Anyways, that's my topic today. Sorry I hadn't made some videos for a week. I've gotten busy with my mycology, and I've just been doing stuff with that. So I'll maybe make a video and update you on some of that information. Um, and I'm hoping to get geared up on my book a little bit more so here. I'm running out of things to say. But I'll be back soon. I missed you all, and you know, it's your comments that trigger me to make more videos because I want to respond. And since I'm a chatty Cathy, I like to respond with a video. So this video was for a young fella from that commented yesterday or today on my video, and thank you for joining us, and hopefully you'll subscribe and stick around and share your story a bit. And I like to hear all your stories, and I think everyone that comes to this channel does. So thanks again. Have yourselves a great day. We'll see you soon.